Good morning, good day, good evening. I am, as always, your host, Brody Robertson, and today we are back for episode 82 of Tech for Tea, and today's guest, it's actually going to be a Linux podcast for once. It's rare, I know, sometimes it does happen. Welcome to the show, Matt from the Linux Cast. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
I feel really weird. I've never been a guest on somebody else's podcast before. Usually I'm in the driver's seat.
I'm trying to think, have I been on someone else's podcast before? I don't think I have been either. I don't know.
It was very interesting watching you have to go through the ordeal of OBS other than I have to do it. It was kind of a relief. It was good. I had to do it again. I have to make Tyler do that the next time.
Yeah, it does definitely make me feel happy that I'm not the only one who ends up struggling with OBS just being an absolute pain. Like, I hear some people saying they have a great experience with OBS, saying, oh yeah, this is so much better than, I don't know, what does anyone else use? XSplit, I guess? Maybe it's better, maybe it is better than XSplit, but that's not a very high bar.
I don't think I've ever used XSplit, but I know that I watched, like, Epos Vox or whatever, and he's, like, a wizard at OBS, and I'm like, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I've been slowly learning, like, little neat touches you can do with OBS to make stuff a little bit more convenient. Like, I've got my my stream chat embedded in an OBS dock now, so when I open up OBS, I have my stream chat just automatically opened, and other little things like that just make things somewhat more convenient, but at the end of the day, you still have the occasional problem where, I don't know, one thing, actually, now you can't drag layers in OBS. You have to, like, use little arrows to move them. I don't know if that's just my build of it, but I noticed that started happening a little while ago.
The weirdest thing for me is that every, I don't know, other time it opens up, all the transforms are just gone. For, like why? Like, I don't understand. It's not as if I'm messing around with the config file or whatever. Like, the file's still there, so why is it gone? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then I have to spend the first, like, half an hour of a podcast or a video trying to redo it. It's just... it shouldn't happen.
my favorite recent problem with OBS is I'm now using a virtual camera, so I can have my camera sent to OBS and sent to Discord at the same time. Basically just, like, looping back the camera. OBS doesn't like this, though, and inside of the, like, properties where you, like, select the webcam you want to use, I can't select my camera, so I've actually had to go on into the config JSON file and manually add in the path to my camera, otherwise it just will not work, and if I change it, I can't change it back without going back into the config file.
Yeah, OBS and Discord do not like playing well together, like, at all. Like... Especially if you use multiple workspaces. Like, sometimes you switch away from a workspace, and all of a sudden you go back and you realize your camera hasn't been recording for the last 10 minutes. It's the dumbest thing.
I think with some window managers, there's a way to, like, make that desktop not disappear or something. You could probably... I have an idea for a hack that... It's not a good hack, but I have an idea. Xrender lets you make, like, fake virtual monitors. So you could put that desktop on, like, a separate monitor, but that I would then break a bunch of other applications, and yeah, it's not a good solution.
So I have two. The for one thing's not a hack, but for whatever reason, Arco Linux does fine. Like, it never has the same problem, but every other distro I've ever tried has that issue. And I haven't tried that this works, but perhaps the tab functionality in several window managers, like, you have the monocle mode, so you could put all of them on one workspace, but you have them all full screens to switch between them. Yep. I don't know if that would work or not, but it'd be something to try.
I think if they're... Actually, no, I don't know. I think it's going to depend on implementation.
Yeah, that's what's so stupid about it, is it's different depending on what window manager you're using. Like, it shouldn't matter, because especially the ones that are all on Xorg, it's all Xorg. You're probably using PyCom across all of them. So, I mean, why does it matter? It doesn't make any sense. But it's difference between GNOME and KDE2 and the floating window managers for desktop environments. It's really weird.
But yeah, if you want to get into things acting strangely, we can spend an entire podcast just talking about how messed up the implementation of Wayland is and how everything does things slightly differently.
We could spend 2 hours just bitching about pulse audio and pipe wire and all that kind of stuff. That'd be like welcome to Matt and Brody bitch about Linux for the whole 2 hours.
Look, it wouldn't be a bad show, to be honest. I don't do Linux episodes very often. Most of the time, it's just, I don't know, me ranting about my psychopathic housemate and video games. Do you know what doesn't make a bad show anyway? But
I've watched a few of them. They're pretty good.
Thank you. Yeah, I occasionally watch. I don't watch much like Linux content. I make a lot of Linux videos. So when I want to be in my spare time, I usually watch something very far removed from Linux. But occasionally I will watch a lot of your content.
See, I watch everybody's Linux content because that's how I come up with ideas. Like, how else am I supposed to copy everybody else if I don't watch their stuff?
Well, you'll get video ideas from Reddit, so you go to r/Linux. That's how.
And why do that kind of work when DT and you guys do it for me?
Yeah, that's fair. No, I've had a theory for a while about where, so I occasionally get comments because every YouTuber is going to get these saying, you're copying this person with this video, stop copying this person. My theory is almost being confirmed, and I know where DT gets his video topics because he uploaded the video, I think, 2 days ago or something, about how his hardware doesn't work properly under Linux. Now, I know that's bullshit because he's been using Linux perfectly fine this entire time. But there was a top post on Reddit 2 days ago with that exact same topic. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I do the exact same thing. But that's why me and DT occasionally have the exact same video topics because we both get ideas from Reddit.
Well, it was better than, I mean, not to call anybody out, but Luke Smith did his OpenBSD video, and then the very next day Mental Outlaw did his OpenBSD video, or
really
one or the other. It was they already have the whole thing where everybody thinks that Mental Outlaw is like the deep fake version of Luke Smith, but that happens way too often with those two. I don't know what's going on there. It's just kind of hilarious.
4chan. That's how. I'm going to reveal the veil. You've already done it with saying that you just take other people's ideas, but I'm going to reveal the veil. There's not a single YouTuber that has original ideas. Ideas don't just pop out of thin air. There's always some inspiration, and a lot of the time the inspiration is going to be the exact same source. So if there's some popular topic, I don't know, everyone was talking about the Steam Deck a little while ago, or there was stuff about the new surveillance bill in Australia. The reason why this stuff gets talked about is because everyone looked at the same sources to find their topics. It's just whether we all pick the same things from it. Well,
I mean, when you're talking about a subject like Linux, there's only so much you can talk about. I mean, that's why we all have System D videos. We all have things on, PyCom and Pipewire and stuff.
I haven't actually done a video on System D yet. Wait, no, I've done a video explaining what System D is. I haven't done a video talking about using it yet.
You did one about how it's not a... Maybe it wasn't you.
No, I did do that. Yeah, that one I did do.
Init system, not an assistant system, right? Yeah.
Which was also based on a Reddit post. Basically, just go to r/Linux, sort by top, and you'll probably find my next video ideas. Actually, I have so many ideas written down though. Stuff from 2 years ago that I just never got around to, because there's always you say there's a limited number of topics, but one way you can always have new stuff to talk about is just talk about the random new projects that people are making. There's always this is one of the great things about open source software and free software. There's always new things that people are making, even if a lot of it is kind of not great. There'll be a lot of those really cool projects that just come out of nowhere. The other day, I did a video about the Libre gaming script, which was setting up your gaming environment. Stuff like that will pop up a lot of the time, and a lot of the time there'll also be stuff that pushes it way down the list.
Yeah. I don't even know if I've ever actually looked at r/Linux on Reddit. I don't spend a lot of time on Reddit.
A lot of it's yeah, I don't. I've got my my Reddit feeds in an RSS feed reader. But yeah, you're not missing out on much. You'll get good topics, and then a lot of the other posts hey, here's this system that's running embedded Linux. Did you know that things run embedded Linux. Wow, this is crazy. Let's do this post another 100 times. Oh, wow, look, it's a signboard in an airport running embedded Linux. Who would have thought? It's crazy.
Like you say that, and then I look right at one of those posts that says, "Hey, I have a thin client running Linux." It was great.
So it's a combination of interesting topics, embedded Linux, and Linux is the best thing ever trying to get upvotes on Reddit. Like, I love Linux. My first week on Linux, 4,000 upvotes.
I just switched to Linux.
Yep. And then the occasional post in there being like, Linux is worse than Windows, and it's tons of downvotes, tons of comments. That person just wants attention.
Or the person who says, hello, I'm a Windows WSL user. Like, yeah, you're going to get a lot of upvotes.
Yeah, for sure. On r/Linux, absolutely. They love WSL there. That's definitely the case.
Should have its own subreddit. Then it could just be its own little community. It probably does. I mean,
basically everything does.
Right?
Pretty much everything has a subreddit. So, let's see. I do have topics here. We can't just talk about nothing the entire time, but I do actually have topics. I don't really care either way. But let's just start somewhere very, very obvious. So, what do you do on your channel?
Oh, I do a little bit of everything. But I seem to have become known for doing racing videos. Mm-hmm. Those seems to be the ones that are very popular. That, and I do the stupid distro reviews that every Linux YouTuber seems to have to do every once in a while. Because I don't know why people watch them, but they're very popular. What I've started to do is, instead of doing that, hey, I'm going to install this Linux distro and tell you what apps are installed. Mm-hmm. You know, I've actually started. Yes, I've started installing the distros on a hard drive and actually using them for a month, and that seems to be more interesting, at least for me, because then I can get into the nitty gritty. Like, I've never used Debian for any long amount of time, so that was fun. That was fun to do. But mostly I just do random Linux content. There's no one area that I try to focus on. I try to stay away from scripting, even though I kind of really like scripting, but that seems to be a little bit too niche.
Yeah, so that's what I found as well. Like, it's one thing to talk about... It's one thing to do a sort of look into a script, and another thing to actually be writing a script in a video. Like, I don't know how people make entertaining, programming content. I don't understand it.
You have to have a certain personality. You know, it's got to... Then you really have to be good at it. Like, I'm not good at it, right?
That's another problem. Yeah, if talking and trying to program at the same time is very difficult. And when you're good enough, I'm sure you know this. Like, when you're good enough, it's not good enough to be talking at the same time.
They're lucky I can do many things and talk at the same time. Programming or scripting are just not one of those things that I can do very well. So I've done a couple streams where I did a script, and those are just, me scripting. I've never talked to the chat at all because it's just going to mess with my head way too much.
Yeah, that's the problem I had. I did a stream where I was programming a Python bot, and I didn't get anything done because I was talking to the chat a lot of the time. And when I'm talking to the chat, I can't think about the problem. And then if I'm thinking about the problem, then people aren't going to watch the stream because it's not entertaining. Yeah. Some people can make it work, absolutely. But I'm not one of those people.
The stream problem, the chat problem is even worse, because the thing with programming and scripting and stuff like that is that there's so many different ways you can do stuff. And everybody has their own way of doing things. And of course, everyone in the Linux chat thinks that their way is the best way of doing something. So you end up going down to a very deep rabbit hole of, hey, maybe this is the way to call a function. Oh, is that a different way to call an array? Oh, cool. You're never going to get anything done. As much as you love Linux chat.
If you just want to spend an entire stream getting nothing done, get into a discussion about the best way to print a formatted string in Python. There is at least 8 ways that I know about. There's just too many ways to print a formatted string. You only need one's enough. But Python's it adds, it had a print f, and then it had another method. Now it has f strings, and there's libraries to do the same thing. it's a mess of a language, but hey, if you can make it work, I like it when someone can. It gives me inspiration to try to improve upon it myself, and try to make more entertaining streams, even when I'm not just like, you know, being super high energy all the time. Like that's one of the things that I try to that I kind of struggle with streaming. Like I'm always just trying to be like that energetic streamer rather than, I don't know, like there's other ways you can keep people engaged with, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, so I've done a stream every Sunday since March. This actually be the first time I've missed one. But I've run out of topics. Is my problem for streams. So I've done a few racing ones. I've done a couple ones where I've done a couple scripts, and then I did the few gaming ones that I've done. And you know, they're fun, but most of the time I either just spend, you know, chatting with the chat, or doing the thing I'm doing online. The thing I don't get is, like, I watch your gaming channel, and you have a phenomenal way of playing the game fairly well and reading comments. Like, I can't do it at the same time. Like, there's no way I can. Like, every once in a while I'll look away and oh, I'm dead. like I've been shot again. I shouldn't look at the chat.
Okay, the way that I do that is I have my chat right next to my screen, like as close as I can get it to my main screen, so I can always just peek slightly over. That's how I go about that. But I don't know.
See, mine's all the way across on the second monitor, so maybe I give that a try. But
yeah, I used to have it like way, like I've got 3 monitors, but we ignore my glorified teleprompter. I used to have it on the monitor like off to my side here, and when I did that, like I basically never read chat, or if I did, like I would have that exact same problem. I would look away, and then either would have to pause the game or I would die. Also, it kind of helps a lot of the games I play. I don't have to be paying attention the entire time. I know Celeste is a bit of a different situation where it's like a, you know, difficult platformer. But if I'm playing something like Spyro, or I'm just running through the world in like Ender Lilies or something, I can sort of look away for a bit and it's not a big deal.
I think it probably hurts me because I'm not a good gamer. so just at any discretion is just going to make it, you know, 100 times worse. So
yeah.
I'm really bad gaming.
Well, before I started streaming, I hadn't really played many games for like a good 3 or 4 years. So for a bit, I was definitely rusty there. But I feel like as of late, like that, I still think I'm not great. Like I'm certainly not awful, but I'm not great. But I've gotten back into the swing of it where I can sort of manage that attention a bit more. I do notice that when I'm not streaming, though, I think the idea that when you're doing something on camera, it is at least 2 times as hard is probably pretty accurate. Like when I'm off stream and I'm playing like, I don't know, Hades or something, I am considerably better at that game than I am on stream. Like no matter what I do, even if I'm just paying attention to the game and not like caring about chat, I think it's having the camera pointed at me and having the lights on and all of this stuff going on to make it the stream. It does something. It does something to your attention, I guess.
Well, and there's the pressure of people watching you.
Yeah,
do things,
the pressure to actually play the game well or be entertaining in some way.
Well, I mean, because if you're browsing along on YouTube, you're going through the YouTube gaming lists of stuff, I mean, which I don't even know does anybody do that? But you go through those and you click on something. Your expectation as a viewer is that person who's doing the gaming at least knows how to play the game. You click on my stream and that expectation is you're immediately disappointed because this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I mean, it's like he's mashing the controller down. My number one role in first-person shooters is spray and pray. That's the way it goes.
That's one thing I also avoid with streams. I cannot play FPS games on stream. I think they take way too much attention to actually do well. I was playing through what is it? Whatever the new Doom is, not Eternal. The new start of the series. Like, is it 2018, 2017, whatever year that Doom came out? Someone's gonna correct me in the comments.
I'm sure.
But when I was playing that, I could not look at chat. If I took my attention away from the game for one moment, I would be dead. And especially because I was playing on like one of the harder difficulties as well. It just, I just couldn't manage that. Or RTS games, I think, have the same problem for me as programming does, where it takes way too much brain power to actually get through that game, and I just can't make an entertaining stream from it. It doesn't help that I'm not good at those games either.
Yeah, the games that I mostly enjoy are kind of like the civilization strategy games things, and also city builders. Like I like city builders a lot. Like the problem is city builders don't like Linux a lot. Like City Skylines will run on Linux and it has a native binary or whatever, but it crashes all the time. Like, and that's without adding on any of the really cool mods. So like you watch City Skylines YouTubers and they have all these awesome traffic mods and stuff that does just amazing things to build your city, and you install that on Linux and like immediately sets fire to your computer. I mean, it's horrible. At one point I was playing that game and it was taking up like 37 gigabytes of memory.
Jesus.
Like, that's how bad it is. Like if no matter how much memory you have in your system, that thing will automatically take half of it. It's ridiculous.
I can't say I've ever played like a city builder. I know I don't like RTS games, and I assume that like my problems with RTS games would be extended into the like city building stuff. I don't have a brain for like planning out like a town or anything like that. That's just not the way and I find that really boring to play as well. I get why it's popular, but I have a dumb monkey brain. I like to hit things with a sword. Hitting things with a sword is fun.
It definitely can be. I think my interest in city builders probably came from like playing SimCity 2000 in school or whatever. I mean, like everybody's old enough to do that was always attached to those kind of things. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense, because I sort of started playing games with like Kingdom Hearts and stuff like that, so it makes sense. Like that's sort of where my my I guess nostalgia lies. Good way to put it.
Well, I mean, when you start off playing Mario, your career in gaming is going to eventually return to Mario.
Yeah, that's
right.
fair.
I mean, that's why Mario doesn't go away. It's not as if these new, the little kiddies are out there saying, "Oh, I want to play Mario." I mean, probably Pokemon, but most of the like Nintendo gaming community for Mario is going to be old timers, people who played Mario on the old consoles and stuff.
Well, it does help that Nintendo just puts out good games.
Yeah, I mean they definitely seem to now. The thing with their consoles is they had the whole TikTok, like Microsoft TikTok thing, where they had a really good console and then they have a crappy console and a really good console. I think that's why they've decided just we made the Switch, everybody likes the Switch, we're never doing another console. Ever. Like, we'll just continue to sell this one until you fools keep spending $300 on it forever and ever.
Yeah, you want to buy a new Switch that is the same Switch but with an OLED screen? You know you're gonna do it.
Yeah, like they pulled the traditional console makers thing where they made the thing where it was heavy and did a lot of stuff, and then they made a light version. So it's like the PlayStation 3 and then the PlayStation Slim, the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Slim. Like, that's the way they do it. So it's obviously makes them a ton of money.
I have no idea what Switch sales numbers look like, but I can't imagine they're slowing down. I know they sped up over the past like 2 years just because everyone wanted something to do. Well, there was that go out.
Right at the beginning of pandemic, they were selling for like $600. It was ridiculous.
Switch sales numbers. Just 600. Jesus. Okay. Apparently, as of August, it has sold 89 million hardware units. Jeez. And then there's been 632 million software sales for it.
And half of those are Zelda.
Surely can't be too far off.
Well, when it first came out, that Zelda game just was. I mean, everybody was talking about. You couldn't walk around the corner without somebody talking about the Zelda game. And then it was Mario, the new Mario Kart that had just come out at that time, and then they had the Mario. Maybe was it Mario Party? I don't even remember.
Probably.
It was one of Nintendo's traditional, IPs. So.
I've been meaning to buy a Switch for a while, but there's been nothing. I usually buy a game for like a small number of core games that I want to play, and I've been waiting for those games to come out. So and at this point, like, there's been nothing that's like really grabbed my attention. Obviously, there's like really great games on the Switch, like Breath of the Wild's a great game, Mario Odyssey's a great game, but I like my JRPGs, and I've been waiting for like a couple that really, really catch my attention that I can't play like anywhere else. Because if it's gonna be on like my PS4 or it's gonna be on PC, like there's no point buying another console for that. I don't really care too much about like the portability thing. I usually play games like at my desk. The last handheld console I had was a Nintendo DS. So I haven't really been like into handheld stuff for a while. But
yeah, PS Vita for me. And I used that for
you're
about,
one of the few people.
Yeah, I like for like 10 minutes, and God, the interface was so bad. I mean, it was just so bad. It was like the GNOME people decided to put together a handheld. It was really bad. The thing about the Switch is that if you played Mario before, I mean, this is the way I look at it. I mean, yes, they're different games, but it's still Mario, right? I mean, it's basically. I mean, people are gonna hate me for saying that, but I don't get it. Like, why I played Mario. I don't need to play it again. It's the same reason why Pokemon lost interest to me back when I was much younger. Like, they released a new Pokemon game with different colors, like once every 3 months, but it was the same game. I mean. At least they could have done was try to incorporate some of the storylines and stuff like that, but for the most part, they didn't even do that. It was just, there's 30 new Pokemon to catch, whatever.
That's why, like, the newer games have always had, like, some mechanical gimmick. I think until, like, it wasn't until, like, I think 5th or 6th gen when they started doing that, where it's like, let's have Dynamaxes, let's have Mega Evolution, let's have some other thing, and that's like Z moves as well in like Sun and Moon. Now they have some like mechanical gimmick that is specific to like that generation, which is supposed to like keep people interested, rather than just, hey, here is the same cycle every time. You get your starter, you go do the 8 gym badges, you go do the Elite Four. Now there's like something along the way that keeps it different, because at its core, like most of the Pokemon games, really, you're right, they are like the same game fundamentally. I will make an argument in the case of Mario, and that is there is a big distinction between like the 2D Mario games and the 3D Mario games, and I feel like 3D Mario is where like the interesting stuff tends to happen.
Yeah, the last good Mario game that I've ever played, like beginning to end, was Mario 64. Like 20 years ago. But yeah, that game was fantastic because at that point there had actually never been a 3D Mario before, right? It was all 2D before that, and that's why the N64 was like that was the console you had. It was so good. I would argue that's probably the best console ever made, but just because simply was the one where you really did. I mean, prior to that, everything was just basically the same. It was a side-scrolling thing, or every once in a while, even like Duck Hunter or whatever was basically side-scrolling. It was just single camera, but and then you had the N64 where, like, oh my god, we had like it was like the first introduction of full world gaming. It was kind of awesome.
So what was your first console? Was it the N64 or was it before that?
No, I had like so I vaguely remember us having one of the Atari systems. Like one of the original Atari systems, but I don't remember. I mean, I was super young. And then we got like I'm gonna say it was the SNES. And we played that for a long time, but the N64 was my first like brand new console that I really remember. And I still have that thing. It's still around here somewhere. It's one of those things where you're just not gonna get rid of it because it's really good.
Yeah,
Not that I have a TV to hook it up to. I mean, damn.
Yeah, you can get like converter boxes that like upscale stuff to HD now, so you could get it working on modern TVs. It's just if you don't use those like converter magical HD upscale boxes, the games become sort of unplayable on modern screens because of the way that the console actually works connected to something new.
Yeah, there's a port of one of the original Sonic games on Steam. And it was one of those Steam sales where you got, hey, it's free for the whole weekend. Just go download it or whatever.
Yeah,
I downloaded it. It's like it showed up on the screen in 4:3. Like there was black bars. Like this is the worst port I've ever seen. Like come on, at least change the aspect ratio. Come, like try. Now I know it was free.
I just realized I have Discord notifications enabled, so someone might have just heard that. Let me see if I can just mute that. Mute server. Can I just mute everything? How do I do this? God. Okay, I'm gonna just mute the ones that I know are probably going to make noise. That's annoying. Shit, okay, I don't actually... Okay, well, people are just gonna have to deal with the noise. That's fine. I should have dealt with that before. I apologize for the Discord pings that might happen then. For me, my first console was the PS2. I was born in '98. I had a PS2 when I think it was towards the end of its life cycle. Actually, I've been kind of weird with consoles. I've always bought it, or I've either bought it or been given it a year or two before like the next gen console came out. Like I got the PS3. God, when did the PS4 come out? I think I got it like a few years before that. PS4 came out in Wikipedia. Tell me. I think I probably got it in like 2011 or something, because PS4 came out in 2013. Which is one of the nice things about getting a console that late is a lot of the games that were gonna be good on that generation are already out by that point. It's not like you have to, wait for some interesting title to come out.
Yeah, that, and you can get them cheap, right? I mean, it's if you buy
like some bundle.
Yeah, like, or if you get lucky, you can go to like a garage sale or whatever, and say, "Oh, well, that kid no longer plays that. Can I buy all the games for like, I don't know, $50?"
Yeah,
I mean, granted, like 90% of those games you're never gonna play, like, because they're like, Wii Sports or something, and you bought like a PS4 and you can't even play it, but you might get a gem or something like that. If you buy a console new, you have to spend like $90 a game, like, okay, so I'm not a gamer. I've not I was more of a gamer 10 years ago, and it seems as I get older, I become less and less of a gamer. But even when I played console games, like my last console was the 360. That was the last one I bought. And even at that point, I refused to spend $70 for a game. It's just I'm never ever going to get $70 worth of play out of a game. It's just that's not. But the funny thing is, is that I will get on the phone and play a mobile game and spend a lot of money.
It's you're really one of those stupid. People, are you?
Well, I mean, not so much anymore, but I used to be quite bad. Like Clash of Clans was the game I played for a long time.
I knew there had to be someone that played that game.
Well, there's a lot of people. It's very competitive, but it's oh man, it's so stupid.
Do we need to have an intervention?
Well, not anymore, because I got very bored with it.
Okay. Did your bank account run out?
Well, the stupid thing about buying like that kind of stuff, spending money on those kind of games, is that eventually you are going to get bored with it. I mean, it's just inevitable. So any money that you spent in it is going to be a complete utter waste of any coin that you have, because eventually, at least when you're physical, like downloadable content that adds like extra stuff to the game. Yeah. This did nothing. This just makes you have a higher level town hall, Right. It was so dumb. But I mean, whatever.
I've always been a free-to-play player with any of like the mobile games, which means that I have the other problem where eventually you'll hit a paywall where you either have to play some insane number of hours to get some new level or some new drop, or there's the cash shop. Do you want the cash shop?
It's very attractive to go into Hearthstone, and like
Hearthstone was really bad for it.
Yeah, you go into Hearthstone, and you go in with good intentions, and you're gonna be like, I'm 100% free to play. It's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna spend any money. And then you realize that every 3 games you win, you only get 100 coins. And in order to buy any amount of cards, you have to have thousands and thousands of coins.
Yep.
And it doesn't help that you watch the Twitch streamers that do that game, and every time there's a new release of new cards, they get all the cards.
Yeah.
They're just being given the cards, but you see, oh man, these are really cool cards. I gotta have some of those. So of course you're gonna spend some coin. I don't know. It's just.
Well, they can also just do a stream where they'll just buy 200 or 300 packs and then make the money back in tips.
It's like watching Mudahar there in a stream, earning $10 every 5 seconds in stream. Yeah. I can't do that. I don't have that kind of money because they spend $50 for 10 packs of cards. At least when you had a physical card, you actually had the card.
Yeah.
You go into the local grocery store and you could buy a pack of baseball cards or Pokemon cards. You had the card.
Yeah.
They've even changed Magic the Gathering to the digital form, and now you don't have the cards anymore. We can
still get the cards, but yeah, there's also going to be digital play as well.
Yeah.
I was never really into card games as a kid. I got a Yu-Gi-Oh base pack. I got a Pokemon base pack. I never got any booster packs. So any cards I wanted outside of that, I would have to trade for them. I would trade cards, or I'd trade my lunch or something like that.
I think the only trading card game physical that I ever got into was Pokemon. But that was the early days when the TV show had just started.
Yeah.
So, and even then, I don't think I maybe got 10 packs or something like that, and I think I probably bought them all at the same time. And then I was never good at trading things with other people because those are my cards. You can't have them. I'm not going to trade them. So I don't think as a kid, I ever really got the point of trading card games because I didn't want to trade anything. I just wanted the cards. I was very selfish as a kid.
I have a cousin who got really into collecting Pokemon cards. I think she has a complete base set now, which, looking at how ridiculously expensive Pokemon cards have gotten, have you paid any attention to the game collector space? Because it's gotten stupid.
I know that the cartridges for the old Mario games like that can really sell for a lot of money. Especially if they're unopened.
Yeah, it's that. Back in July, a copy of Super Mario sold for $1.5 million.
Well, in its defense, at least you actually have the cartridge. It's not like an NFT.
That's fair. Yeah, that is a fair point. Yeah, NFTs. That. I thought that was going to that trend was going to die down quicker.
Did you see? I don't know who it is. I'm not paying any attention to the names or whatever. But somebody bought a really expensive NFT, and then they're selling $475 tickets to actually see the NFT in person. It was on The Verge the other day. I was like,
wait, no, I didn't see that one.
See if I can.
If I can find, if you can find that sounds amazing. Wait.
Yeah.
You can now buy a $475 NFT ticket to see Beeple's 69 million NFT at an IRL party. What the hell? What is this?
Well, I mean, they have to have some way to earn that money back, I guess. But I don't think you're going to make the whole $69 million back. It's so dumb.
Yeah. You might struggle a little bit.
Well, I think the NFTs were invented to just prove the old saying "fools and their money are soon parted" true and correct. Because I mean, I don't think that you could show me a like, okay, so the idea behind NFTs is probably a good one, like,
Mm-hmm.
and able to be able to sell digital art and stuff like if you're an artist or whatever,
Like,
and you want to be able to sell exactly one copy of something and be able to transfer that ownership over to somebody.
yeah,
The
that is the
idea
one good use case that I can think of it.
is because it's the only one, but the problem is that it's been you know, stolen by the rest of the cryptocurrency community and for stupid things like the digital animal things that are going around, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, the sports, the NBA even got into it where they're selling like 5-minute clips of of games,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't own anything. Like you had no ownership over that at all. They still owned the copyright. You just had a token that you probably paid, way too much for,
Mm-hmm.
and you literally got nothing. I mean, you received nothing for that transaction other than the ability to get on Twitter and say, "Hey, my name is Logan Paul. I spent $600,000 on something stupid. Congratulations. I'm an idiot who has too much money."
Well, no, okay. I will give Logan Paul of what's the word? I'll let him have that, okay? Because in his case, he actually will make back the $600,000 because he'll just start up his own project and start selling crypto
Yeah.
animals.
Well, then he would have. It's personalities like that who have the ability to, because they have such a vast audience. Someone in their audience is going to be. How do I say this nicely? Yeah, stupid enough to buy that from them for even more money. So, but it's going to be those the little guys that are going to spend, for whatever reason they have that amount of money. Which is, I mean, first of all, where'd you get $69 million to actually spend on something? I mean, I mean, I know it's
Early Bitcoin
cryptocurrency.
investor. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be that way, right? Because I mean, normal people don't have $69 million to spend on stupid. If I had $69 million, you're never gonna see my fat ass again. I'm leaving, man. I'm not gonna spend it on something, you know, like a GIF. I mean, why are people so stupid? I don't understand. It makes me want to cry. It's just like we're doomed as an entire species because NFTs are just gonna like I'm convinced because of NFTs, we have no hopes of solving climate change or COVID or any of this stuff. We have no chance of it. By the way, I just said the C word, so you're probably now going to get demonetized.
I'm not monetizing
Sorry.
this channel anyway.
Okay.
I only
Good.
make money on Odyssey. It's all good.
But we have no chance of solving any of those problems because if we're so stupid that a good chunk of us will spend money on this kind of stuff, we have no hope. None at all. Like it's like every time I say it, and you're right, because you said that you expected to be like a fad, like it was just.
That's what I thought.
It'd be here for a little while and then it'd go away. It's not going away. Like
No.
like I don't like it'll die down for a couple weeks and then somebody like Logan Paul will come out and say, "Hey, I spent all this money on something," and then it will become a big phase again. Or this guy sending $475 tickets to see his NFT, which he spent $69 billion on. It's just, I don't know. It's so bad.
I think the best hope we have is that people realize that all of this nonsense NFT stuff doesn't matter and is actually worthless, and all that's left over at the end is a niche community of people that care about digital art. That is I don't want NFTs to go away completely. I just would like all of these scams to go away. That would be lovely. Like, I want people to start realizing that buying a photoshopped elephant and butterfly together is a scam, and you shouldn't do that. But if you want to go buy, I don't know, a digital, I don't know, you want to go buy a digital painting of Tux, and you want to sell that, that's fine. I think that's a perfectly valid use case. The problem with the digital art use case, though, is it's still not recognized as ownership. Like, you can... Like, you can download that NFT. Like, you can just download the JPEG. You don't actually own anything still. You can say you own, like, the token to it, but without actually having... Without the token also transferring the actual ownership rights of that image, it still really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, it feels like NFTs are missing a component of some kind of legal transfer, right? And maybe that would have like come into existence. Maybe it even does exist, and we just don't know it. But maybe that would have came into existence if it hadn't all been bogarted by all these morons. But I think it all kind of. I mean, without going into too much into the cryptocurrency nonsense, the whole cryptocurrency sphere is always going to have this kind of leave the bad taste in everybody's mouth until there's some kind of. I mean, the whole point behind cryptocurrency was to get away from regulation and stuff like that. But the only way to get rid of all the scams and stuff is going to have regulation. So it's going to be a really catch-22 for people.
Well, it's going
to be hard.
What I hope is we have sort of like a .com bubble with the crypto world where everything basically just collapses into nothing, and then slowly it builds back up to where we are now. That's what I can hope, where it gets so bad and there are so many scam projects that it just crumbles in its own weight.
And people realize people are going to have to, because the scam stuff would have to go through and do that, and it would have to be like mainstream, like it had to be crumbled because of the scam stuff, and then it had to be covered like on NBC Nightly News because the cryptocurrency world has collapsed because of all the scams. And it had to be like catfishing and stuff like that has become mainstream because it's people, all the stories and stuff has kind of gone into the mainstream media. A lot of the scams now are very for cryptocurrency just aren't widespread enough for people to know. That's why people still get caught, right? It's gonna, I don't know, it's gonna take something. Smarter people than me are gonna have to figure it out, I guess. That's why I'm just gonna, like, somebody said, Matt, why don't you invest in cryptocurrency? Well, first of all, you have to have at least some money to invest in cryptocurrency, but also, you have to be willing to be very okay with how cryptocurrency fluctuates up and down, and there's no predictability at all. At least if you buy into the stock market, you know that it's going to go up and down, but there's some predictability there. There are some people who have computer models or whatever that say what the thing's going to do. Nobody, I mean, Brian Lunduke left Odyssey, and then the next day LBCs were worthless. Like if one person can affect an entire coin that badly, I don't know if I want to get into it, because what happens if Logan Paul comes out and says that all cryptocurrency is stupid, and then all of a sudden cryptocurrency is terrible again? It feels.
Well, we can already see that Elon Musk has the ability to manipulate the price of Okay, so I don't know if you know the story about with Elon Musk and Tesla. He's not allowed to talk about Tesla on his Twitter without having it approved by like a board of people, because he has openly manipulated the Tesla stock in the past, saying things like Tesla's going to be taken private, or Tesla stock is too high valued and it just massively fluctuates the price. So he's not allowed to talk about Tesla without having this approved. At least he shouldn't be, but he does anyway because he's Elon Musk. He doesn't give a shit.
He don't care.
But he, like, if you're watching the early stuff with like him talking about Bitcoin and him talking about Dogecoin, every time he would tweet, the price would indicate whatever he says. Like if he says, I'm selling my Bitcoin, price drops. If he says, Tesla is now accepting Bitcoin, massive fluctuation. He has way too much influence in how the market is going to go. I don't know why people still take him seriously and don't realize why he's not trolling them. Because I've pointed this out in the past. Like, the reason why he does this is because just before he tweets, he either buys or sells. Like, he is openly manipulating the market, and no one cares.
Yeah, no. That guy is really, I mean, okay, so he's obviously very, very intelligent, right? when he first came into like when he first became really popular and Tesla was starting up and stuff like that, everyone had so much hopes. Like, oh, this guy is like the next Steve Jobs or the next Einstein or something. I don't know. He's going to solve so many of our problems. And for a while that happened, but then he's like he transitioned into like the internet's biggest troll. You know,
when you have that much money, you don't have to care. Like, you don't have to be like a Jeff Bezos or something like that and trying to make yourself richer. You could just, like, Elon doesn't need to work a day for the rest of his life. He doesn't care.
Well, it reminds me of that. So there was like those 13 guys that were stuck in a cave or something in like Indonesia or whatever. And Elon was like, well, I'm going to build this awesome submarine that's going to go get him, but it's going to take like 2 months to do. Okay. Because you're not going to build anything fast. And they were out like the next day or something like that. Like that whole situation was like, it felt like he was doing that just because he wanted his name or whatever to be associated with that, whatever. But I don't. We got into. We have transitioned through a whole bunch of topics, haven't we?
We have, and we can end off Elon by saying, Elon doesn't care. He's gonna shoot a car into space, and you don't. Like, look. Do you know anyone else who said they were gonna shoot a car into space and then actually did it? No, you don't. That's because Elon Musk is the only one who's rich enough and crazy enough to do it.
The best story about Elon over the last year was the day before Richard Branson went into space or whatever. He said that Elon Musk showed up in his kitchen at 3:00 in the morning, just like randomly in the morning. like you imagine walking into your kitchen at 3:00 in the morning, like, oh, hi Elon, how you doing? You know, he's probably going through the refrigerator. Hey, you got any mustard in here?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Okay, let's actually, you know what, let's somehow segue back into Linux. Did you, okay, I don't know why people were freaking out about this, but did you see people freaking out because one flavor of Manjaro decided they were going to start shipping with Vivaldi? People were saying Manjaro is now dropping Firefox, but that just isn't what happened at all.
Yeah, it was like on every technology blog that kind of covers Linux, but they don't really ever read into what actually is happening. Like the Register does this a lot, ZDNet does it a lot, where they have to have that awesome headline that's going to grab people's attention. And yeah, I saw that. No, that's now it would be news if actual Manjaro switched to Vivaldi, and it wouldn't surprise me because remember like a couple years ago they did that where they were switching away from LibreOffice to go to like a proprietary version of like OpenOffice or something like that. It was
how long ago was that?
A couple years ago.
It might have been before I was around.
Like they decided to switch away from LibreOffice to go to OpenOffice, which is proprietary, and the entire Linux community just kind of flipped their shit. And in the end, they end up, now if you install Manjaro, you get a choice between OpenOffice and LibreOffice. That's the reason why that's there, because they were just going to switch. And that was the main, like, Manjaro. If they decided to go to Vivaldi, which wouldn't surprise me, it would be even huge news. But would it, though? I mean, it's going to make the Foss bros very angry. People who are just so invested into Foss that, you know, any deviation from, like, I switched to Edge and lost 50 subscribers. You know, it's like it's gonna be those guys who piss me off. But
no, okay, no, stop for a second. Why did you switch to Edge? There's so many good browsers. Why Edge? Okay,
so Edge is God, I don't want to be that guy who defends a Microsoft project, but damn it, I'm going to. It's like it renders web pages properly, which sometimes Firefox doesn't do.
Sure. Okay.
It doesn't have the weird stuff that Brave does.
Okay.
For whatever reason, Brave always comes across as a little shady to me. I don't know why. It's just really weird. Maybe it's cryptocurrency stuff. Maybe it's the download bar at the bottom. But Microsoft seems to have taken Edge and added in some stuff that's really good. So they integrated vertical tabs, which actually work. They integrated a coupon clipper that's like I know you can get these things in extensions, but they're built in. They don't have to have at least if somebody's going to steal my information, I know it's going to Microsoft. It's not going to some random plugin generated guy on wherever.
Sure.
You know?
Okay.
So that's why I switched to Edge, because it had some cool stuff. Now I'm back on Firefox now because Firefox or Edge is in beta and they delete everything every time you do an update, which is the dumbest thing ever. But the week or so I was on Edge, I really liked it. But you can get all that stuff in other browsers. So if people were to switch to Vivaldi, just to bring it back to the topic we're talking about, I mean, people would get really upset because it's not open source, but it wouldn't bother me. Because at least when it comes to browsers, like maybe I used to care, but now I just want it to work. You know what I mean? The problem with Firefox so often is that it doesn't work. Like there's like a few websites that won't render properly. Half the times Google Docs doesn't work in Firefox for whatever reason. And they're so focused on changing things. Like every 5 versions, you get a new update, and it has a entirely different UI. They moved the account settings in version 90. It used to be in like the drop down, like the hamburger menu. Now it's a menu inside of a menu, and in order to actually sync things between that and mobile, you have to go find this stuff. I mean, why would you move this stuff? I don't understand. On a couple of videos, I've talked about how I don't understand. Like, Mozilla gets $400 million from Google every 10 years or something like that, and
it's a bit quicker than that, but yeah, they're basically a Google sub brand. Yeah.
So they get all this money, and first of all, good for you. Google gives you $400 million. I'm not going to complain.
Actually, I think you're missing $100 million.
Whatever, I don't care. Congratulations, you got $500 million. Good for you. But do something with that other than give your CEO all this money. Like you don't need. Did you know that Mozilla employs like 800 people, and the only product they actually have is Firefox? Like, well, somebody
they have other things, just no one uses them.
Well, so they have a VPN. No, they don't. They don't actually have a VPN.
No,
it's a rebranded version of somebody else's VPN. So it would have been impressive if they actually had a VPN. An open source VPN that's run by the Mozilla Corporation? Sign me up. Is that what they had? No, of course that's not what they had. They have a rebranded thing that somebody went into the source code and changed the name, of what the VPN was. It's that kind of thing that just makes me so angry about Mozilla.
Okay, so I'm looking at Mozilla's website right now. Here are the Mozilla products. We have Firefox. We have Firefox for Android, Firefox for iOS, which isn't actually Firefox. That's actually just WebKit with a skin. Firefox for Enterprise, Firefox Lite, Firefox Reality. That's a web browser for virtual reality headsets. I didn't know they had that one actually. Mozilla VPN, Firefox Private Network. Wait, what? Wait, what? Mozilla VPN, Firefox Private Network. Browse securely on private Wi-Fi using a Firefox add-on. Oh, I guess that might be a browser plugin for their VPN. Okay, fair enough. Firefox Lockwise, that is a password manager. Firefox Screenshot Go is a screenshot app for mobile because you don't have the ability to just press these 2 buttons and screenshots. Mozilla Hubs, which is a virtual reality conferencing thing. It's jank as hell. I love it. Firefox for Amazon devices. Firefox Focus, and then objectively the best Mozilla product ever made, Thunderbird.
I thought Thunderbird had been split off from
I thought that Mozilla as well, but they still have it listed here.
That's really weird. The one thing I noticed you said in every single one thing you listed is Firefox was in the name of every single one of those things you listed. So really, I was right. They only have one product, which is Firefox, and then they've gone through and they have a few extensions.
Also, Thunderbird is basically Firefox as well, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least with Vivaldi, they've gone through and integrated their email client into the browser. I mean,
well, you can make the argument that's not a good thing because that makes your browser heavier, and if you're going to use like a separate email client, then
I don't think Vivaldi cares about how heavy their browser is because
they don't.
Their UI is so. I mean, kudos for giving the user a ton of options and stuff like that. But man, can it be really slow sometimes? Like, oh man, I'd love to I'd love to use Vivaldi because it has all those options. Like I can get vertical tabs. I don't have to use something from Microsoft in order to get them. But it's just slow, man, because they've baked so much stuff into it.
Yeah, that's the problem that I found when I used to use Vivaldi back when I was on Windows, and then when I first switched over to Linux. I like Vivaldi. It's a great browser. But you're absolutely right. Like, the UI is insanely customizable. Like, that's the reason why I started using it. Because you can do... Like, obviously, Firefox is very customizable as well. The problem with Firefox, though, is you customize it through the CSS file. And that's also, like, legacy support and maybe removed at some point. And
then they break it, like, every time they do a major update.
Yeah. Like, good. I like what Vivaldi's doing, but I also like being able to have my web browser open while I play a video game and not have it eat up my entire system resources.
Yeah, browsers tend to, for whatever reason, it feels like Vivaldi was built on Electron sometimes. Because, like, you install the thing and turn it on, and all of a sudden, it sounds like you're in an airport because all your fans are running. Like, why does my computer sound like it's on fire? So here's a question for you. Do you think that the Manjaro Cinnamon switch to Vivaldi heralds a change for actual Manjaro? Do you think that they're actually going to follow through with that?
I think that if people are happy with it, I think that's a possibility.
So do you think that the Manjaro Cinnamon guys were just, this was just something they did, or do you think it was the flagship guys saying, "Hey, let's do a test balloon on a desktop environment that nobody actually uses"? Unless if you're going to use Cinnamon, you're using Linux Mint. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
You don't go to Manjaro to use Cinnamon. You go to Manjaro to use KDE or something.
Okay, that's fair. That's actually a good question. I don't know what, the connection between those two teams actually is like. So I think it's hard for me to make any assessment on whether that would be the case. But I think that if this is popular, you might see a trend of different distros actually trying out different things. Like, obviously, when you ship with GNOME, you'll have, what's the GNOME browser called?
It's called Web. It's GNOME Web.
Yeah, obviously.
But Elementary OS has the same thing but it's called Epiphany. It's garbage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so bad.
Obviously you have those ones, but right now when a distro ships with a browser, it's generally shipping with Firefox. But this might lead to a trend. I don't think it's going to lead to a trend of swapping to Vivaldi, but you might see some distros try out Brave or try out something else like that. And the problem with trying out, I know obviously Vivaldi is half proprietary, but I think Brave might be more controversial just because of its crypto stuff. I think people would be more accepting of Vivaldi, even though you definitely would have that contention there because it's not completely FOSS. Having the crypto stuff there just looks a little sketchier.
Yeah, if a distro is going to try Brave, they would have to find a way to hide that crypto stuff, so it's just an option in the background.
Well, you can disable it. What that would probably do is disable it by default, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, you'd almost have to, but because when you first open up just a standard stock version of Brave, one of the first things it does is tell you about BAT. I mean, that's one of the first things it does. And that's fine for if you've explicitly installed Brave and you know what you're doing. But if that became the default browser on Ubuntu, that would cause a lot of problems because I know, installing on my father's computer, he uses Ubuntu. He'd be like, what's cryptocurrency? First of all, what's bat? I mean, it confused the hell out of a ton of people, and something you said earlier just kind of freaked me out. Because what if instead of saying, Kitty Neon or Ubuntu, one of the flavors of Ubuntu, instead of saying we're gonna ship Brave or Firefox for Vivaldi, instead we're gonna make our default browser GNOME Web or Epiphany or Conqueror. You can remember Conqueror? I mean, that thing still exists. So, so instead of having a mainline browser, instead we're going to have several distro-specific browsers that don't render 90% of the web and have weird features that you don't need, and are just really weird. Because Conqueror was also like a file manager at one point, but it's also like a web.
Yeah, that is a weird one. Yeah,
the thing is, it's still being developed. Like. The KD Plasma guys, they don't abandon anything. Like those guys, I don't know where they're getting all the development, manpower, but they have like 5,000 projects for Plasma, and that's probably lowballing it just a little bit. But I mean, they just have a ton of projects for Plasma, and every single one of them seems to get like updates every once in a while. Like there's somebody out there working on a cute version of Conqueror, which is a web browser that absolutely, I swear to God, nobody uses that web browser. I mean, nobody does. I mean, it comes pre-installed. Like, if you install, like, KD Plasma on Arch from, like, the repositories, you're probably going to get Conqueror installed by default, because you're going to get all the K apps, right? But nobody's going to use... I mean, nobody uses that, right? I mean... Okay. In Brody's comments below, anybody who uses Conqueror, let him know, because I want to see. I want to have we got to get you on the podcast because you're going to be like the only person.
One weird person.
Like, oh, there's not. Please no. That thing has to have like serious secure. I mean, it can't be secure, right? Does it even support SSL? I mean,
look, if I have a Plan 9 user in my Discord, I'm sure there's going to be someone who uses Conqueror.
The thing is, I'm convinced that the Plan 9 user in your Discord is the same Plan 9 user that's in every Linux Discord.
I wouldn't be surprised.
His name is either Joshua Lee or it's Peter. Peter is the Gentoo guy, the guy who's around trying to get every Linux YouTuber to install Gentoo. And the hilarious thing is he succeeded. He got both DistroTube, you and me, all of us, installed Gentoo. Like, it was absolutely hilarious. Like, don't tell us we won't pander to the chat. We'll do it.
No, look, if I make a Gentoo stream that doubles my stream viewers, sure, I'll do it. Why not?
To this day, the Gentoo stream where I failed to install Gentoo, like I did not succeed. Like I didn't, like the VM froze, and that's where I stopped streaming after 3 hours. Is the highest view counted stream that I have by far.
Yep.
Like it has at least 400 or 500 more views than the closest one, and it boggles my. I mean, people still watch it. Like, I put in the video description, Linux noob fails to install Gentoo, and people still watch it. Like, all right, so you've successfully installed Gentoo.
I did.
Explain to me why people want to use Gentoo, because I don't understand it. Like, I understand that Gentoo has some pre-compiled binaries. Like, you can install Firefox -bin or whatever, and it's already you don't have to go through and compile Firefox. But if you're just going to use the because every time I argue, like, I don't want to spend time compiling all this stuff. The argument against that was like, well, it has pre-compiled binaries, in which case, why would I want to use a source-based distro? Because if I'm already just going to use the binaries, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Like the purpose of using Gentoo, from my experience, or from my perspective, is to compile all your stuff, so you can put the stuff in the kernel that you want to put in the kernel, and put stuff in, for certain applications the way you want to do it. But that stuff takes time. I mean, it takes a ton of time. I don't.
I'm not the person to ask. I run Arch. I have no idea why anyone goes out of their way to use Gentoo. I guess because it's very lightweight. Like, it doesn't install anything for you. I guess that's probably it. If you want to build something up from scratch, but you don't want to go that little bit extra step and just do LFS.
Right, but Arch doesn't install anything for you other than the kernel. I mean,
well,
really,
okay, Arch does have base and base devel, and you'll get a lot of stuff that you're probably never going to use.
Right, but you have to install those things. But you don't have to compile them.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to install Make at some point if you want to, do anything. So you might as well install that package that has Make in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to install Network Manager, but you don't have to compile Network Manager.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you want to compile Network Manager? It literally sudo pacman-catflash Network Manager, whatever it is, and it's done in like 5 seconds. It's not 3 hours long. It continually boggles my mind because it doesn't matter what the topic of my video is on there's always one guy, or usually it's through the streams, but there's always a person in that stream that, hey, this doesn't look like a Gentoo install. Like, even of course it doesn't look like a Gentoo install. I'm not installing Gentoo. So what I did is I trolled everybody. I set a Patreon goal of $350, which is miles and away past what I have right now. And I said, if I get to this Patreon goal, I'll install Gentoo again. And like I said, I set it so far beyond that it's going to be years before I get there. So I'm safe. Like, this way I can say, well, you know what? You want me to install Gentoo? Go support me on Patreon. I'm such a troll.
You know what's going to happen? There's a couple of people out there in the Linux world who have have a lot of money, and there's going to be one of them who gives you $350 for 1 month just to get you to do it.
Well, in that case, I'll take the $350. I will go install Gentoo, I suppose, but I won't be happy about it. But I will do it. I've promised, but maybe I should have said it higher, is what I'm thinking. Oh man, Gentoo. There's the LFS guys out there too, right? Like, there's always ones that, well, if you're gonna install Gentoo, you might as well install LFS. Like, first of all, does anybody actually still install LFS?
I don't know if there's anyone who unironically runs LFS, or if people just use it as like an educational tool. I will be doing an LFS series very soon. So I expect some fun comments from that telling me how I'm doing a ton of stuff wrong. Oh, that's another one with the Gentoo stream. Every time you do anything when you're installing Gentoo, someone's there to tell you you're doing it wrong, even if you're following like word for word what the install guide says. Like, I installed a binary kernel and someone said, no, you're doing it wrong. You didn't compile the kernel yourself. Like, it literally says in the install guide, I can use a binary kernel. Piss off. I don't care.
You really want to get them started, choose systemd as the ISO that you download, because that's what I did. Is because so the general ISO is OpenRC, right?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know anything about OpenRC, and I know systemd. So I was like, I'm going to install the systemd one. Nobody's going to care about which whatever I'm using. And the comments like, why are you using systemd? It's completely different. The wiki doesn't even cover systemd. Like, I give up. Like, I'm gonna go back to Arch, where it doesn't matter. It uses systemd. I don't care. The 5 times a year I have to go systemctl enable or whatever in order to start a service, I'm happy with that. I forget systemd exists. That's my level of interaction with the init system of systemd. So it's like everything on. You're right. Like, everything. You can't do anything right on Gentoo because it's like programming. We're coming full circle.
Yes.
There's 12 different ways of installing Gentoo, and they're all wrong to somebody. So it's really bad.
Unless you spend the entire stream going through like compiler flags, you've done something wrong.
Well, I got to the point where I actually put in use flags. In that stream.
There was one thing I did during that. There's one part where it gets you to write a 0. I put a capital O because the font they have on the Gentoo wiki looked exactly the same. And I tried to run it, and I was like, I think I was trying to boot up Xorg or something. Like, why is Xorg not booting? What is going on?
The thing is with the use flags is that everyone has different use flags. So there was like 9 people in the chat, and every single one of them was telling me, "Hey, use these user flags." Like, okay, I'll do those. My stupid thing was, at one point, I just like, fine, I'm not gonna follow the wiki anymore. I'm gonna follow the people in the chat.
Yep.
And the thing is, they're all taking me in different directions. It's like, and then we wonder why at the end of the stream, the virtual machine just crashed.
I think the only use flag that everyone could agree on is setting like the number of threads to be using. Just set it to as high as you can use. Otherwise, like, don't set it to 1. If you set it to 1, we're gonna be here literally all week. As long as you don't do that, we're good.
Yeah, I think I gave the VM like 4 cores or whatever, and then I never enabled that flag because it took forever, and like I said, it crashed. And by that point, had been streaming for 3.5 hours, and like an hour and a half is like my stream. Like I'm very consistent, around an hour and a half. After that, I'm done. Like I just want to, I want to get out of here. I need to get away from the internet for just a little while because it always drives me crazy, right? And that one had gone on for 3.5 hours. Like, I can't go any longer. like I need to. I need water. I need to get out of the chair to like move around or something. Like if I do end up doing Gentoo, I'm doing it at the standing desk.
I didn't even notice there was a standing desk back there.
Yeah, I have a standing desk back there, and I will do it from there because at least then I can move around or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
I would love to have a standing desk. I just don't have room. This is as far back as my chair goes.
Don't do what I did. Okay, so I have a fairly small room here. Like I have a bed in this room too. So what I did is because I have an oak desk, right? And this oak desk is like 20 years old. It weighs 3,000 pounds. And it does not move. like there's no moving this thing. So I couldn't go through and replace this desk because what would I do with it? I mean, nobody's going to buy an oak desk that has damage to it.
Firewood.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's still a good desk. It still holds things.
Okay,
right? Yeah. I mean, it does its job. But I wanted a standing desk. So what I did is I got on Amazon and, searched standing desk because
Amazon
that's the only place.
Standing desk. Sure.
Yeah. And it's like $110 or something like that.
Wow.
The thing is it doesn't go up and down. It's just a standing desk. So now I have 2 desks in my room in this. I think it's like a 14 by 14 room, and it just sits there. Like I use it, but it just takes up space, and you can't put it down. It'd be so cool if like the keyboard tray or whatever folded down, so it took up less space. But I don't think that they thought of that. I think maybe that was the $200 version or something. I don't know. It was really, I don't know. Just don't do that. Take your oak desk out and do what Brody says. Burn the damn thing because it's firewood. And get one of those nice ones that go up and down because that guy. I want that so bad, but
yeah, I wouldn't really care about getting rid of my desk. This is something I got from IKEA. For whatever the cheapest I could get. It's a big desk, but it's made of I can't even confirm that it's made of wood, to be honest. I'm not sure what it's made of. Sawdust.
Maybe particle board, maybe. Like I have a.
But when I get rid of this desk, I don't care. I did have a nice desk when I was younger. There's like an office store near me that used to sell this really nice black stained glass desk. It was also tempered glass, and the glass was like at least an inch thick. And that thing, like you could put, I think it was rated to hold something like 100 kilos or something, which is more than a desk needs to hold, absolutely. But that thing was such a nice desk, and I really hate that I got rid of it.
If for no other reason, like I've been planning on doing redo my setup because I have 2 monitors, but I want a third monitor, like desperately want a third monitor. And I mean, I say that to like my parents or whatever, is like see my setup or whatever, like, and they go, hey, you got those really big screens. Why do you need a third monitor? Like, because I use them. like I would love to be able to have like my browser on one and then like Audacity on the other and OBS in one place, and then we don't have to deal with OBS forgetting things and are not recording stuff.
Yeah.
But there's just no room on this desk. It's just the 27-inch monitors take up the whole space. So
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
love to get rid of this desk, get rid of that desk, just
Mm.
getting rid of all the desks, and then get like a corner desk in this thing, like it's so I can get 3 monitors. That'd be so nice. And they're not even expensive. Like if you go on Amazon, because again that's the only place that you can buy things, right? You can get like a reversible L desk for like $150.
Mm.
It's not going to be good. I mean, I'm sure it's going to break like 5 minutes after you bought it, but it turns out furniture's cheap sometimes.
Sometimes.
Like if it's not made out of oak, if it's just made out of like aluminum,
Or particle board.
or particle board, it's fairly cheap. But my problem is, I don't want to get rid of the firewood. Yeah, I'm kind of attached to this desk. Like it has a hutch or whatever, and it has a shelf, and it's got all this stuff. It's a nice desk, and I don't want to get rid of it. So I'm stuck between wanting more space and not wanting to get rid of the desk that has storage in it. So it's I don't know. That third monitor is going to happen one of these days. Even if I have to get rid of the hutch and just mount the monitor above these two. That's possible. I see like you go to like the you get on Instagram or something, or you get on Twitter, and people are always tweeting out pictures of their setups, and you always have they have these 5 monitor setups, and they have things up there like a huge TV above their monitors or whatever. Like that sounds like such a good idea, but I think my neck hurts. Why does my neck hurt? It's I don't know. It's really weird.
My setup is purely practicality. If I post a picture of this would not be a good picture. So my the stand I've got for my camera is I couldn't find something that would fit my setup, so I got my stepdad to make me something. It is 2 pieces of aluminum pipe bolted together in like an L shape, so it can like sit across to where I need it to be. I've got one of my lights clamped to it with like a cheap clamp. I've got my other light over here with another clamp attached to like a microphone arm. This microphone arm is like $10 with a $600 mic attached to it. Ignoring that. But like I have not done any cable management or anything. It's just everything here works. It's not great, but it works.
The microphone arm thing makes me laugh because this thing here, so this arm came with that microphone back there. I don't know if you can see it.
Wait, can you move that arm forward just slightly a little bit? I think I know. Is that the same arm I have?
It may be.
Like that top.
Does it have little knobs?
Yeah. I think that's the same one.
It came with that microphone. That microphone was like $30. This thing,
it probably is.
It definitely is not meant to hold a $400 mic from Heil. It definitely is not.
What mic is that?
This is the Heil PR40. It's atrocious. Don't buy it. It's really bad. In order to actually get good sound out of it, you have to go and do a whole bunch of EQ and stuff. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not great. I bought it because Leo Laporte uses it. I mean, because obviously, big podcaster uses the Heil PR40. Obviously, it has to be good, right? It's not good. Now, if I were buying, I've had this mic for 10 years, so it's not a big deal. I've gotten my money out of it. If I were buying a new mic today that was this cost, I would buy that one that you have. Now, you just got that mic, right?
Yes, I just bought my Shure SM7B about a week or so ago.
You're probably going to do a video on it, so I don't want you to ruin your video, but how do you like it? Is it good?
Beautiful. I love this mic. The only problem is, okay, without getting too much into details, the one problem this mic has is very difficult to drive. I have got my mixer maxed out right now. If we put it back to like where I was, where I had it set for my old mic, you probably can't hear me now.
It's very soft.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem with the Shure. It is an insanely difficult mic to drive, but it sounds really nice.
Yeah, you almost have to get a cloud lifter in order to get it.
I've got one on order.
Yeah.
Which makes me depressed because it's a lot of money. It's like $900 on this setup.
This needs, I know. This thing here needs a cloud lifter too, and because right now I have the gain cranked all the way up, just like I'm not even gonna touch it because I have it where you can actually hear me. Yeah, I go up there, I touch it, you'll never hear me again because it took me ages to get to this point.
Mm.
The problem is I don't know if I want to invest in a cloud lifter until I can change this microphone because I want to change the microphone. Like I'm getting sick of having to go into Audacity every time I do a video and just EQ the crap out of it because there's no bass to it whatsoever. It makes me sound like I talk like a Oompa Loompa. You know, it's really bad. I mean, it's not as bad. Excuse me. It's not as bad through like Discord because Discord compresses the crap out of everything anyways. Yeah. So it's not bad. But if you're just recording it raw audio to Audacity, it sounds really, really high pitched. Like I swear I went through puberty. I mean, at some point in the last 35 years, my voice broke and I went through puberty. Like I remember it happening. But this microphone would swear that I was still 12 years old. It's really bad. And I don't understand because you watch YouTube videos like Podcastage and...
Yeah. That's a great channel.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of those. And Tom Buck, I think his name. They like, oh, this microphone's perfectly fine.
Oh, wait.
And
you didn't watch Epos Vox's video then. The Hail PR40 is a legendary disappointment.
Yeah. There's a lot of YouTubers out there that really don't like this, but there's one guy out there who does it. He does like Audacity, like tutorials or whatever. Yeah. How to make yourself sound great in Audacity. And you watch that thing, and he has a Heil PR40, and he has this amazing British accent, right?
There's the problem. The British accent makes every mic sound good.
I know. But he does before and he does after. Like, I can't get. I mean, I do exactly that thing. I can never make this mic sound that good. And granted, you're right. I don't have that accent as much as I would try. I was like, maybe it's a good idea to do a British accent, but no, that's not a good idea. You don't want me to do that. That'd be horrible. It's just I can't make this mic sound good. I've tried every tutorial on the internet to make it sound good from a raw recording, and it's just it's not there. So I don't understand. I mean, granted, I don't have a mixer. All I have is an audio interface.
What are you using for that one?
Focusrite Solo.
Okay.
And it's fine. But it sounds like this microphone sounds like garbage. Now I have a Rode PodMark. I can't talk anymore. I have a Rode Pod mic back there too. That was about $100. And you watch YouTube videos of people who have Rode Pod mics, and they sound amazing. Like they got rich, full sound. I plug that thing in, I sound like crap. So I'm beginning to think it's not the mic. It's probably just my voice. maybe it's just my voice. I could spend $1,000. I could get one of those Neumann microphones that are like $7,000 or something like that, and I'd probably still sound exactly like this. And yeah, that would be worse than all my Clash of Clans money combined. It'd be complete waste of money.
That's one of the problems with looking at mic reviews. You sort of have to find someone that has a similar sort of voice range to you, because like if you're, it wouldn't be very, very helpful if someone with like a deep British accent was watching some like, I don't know, some chick from California reviewing a mic. Like, their voices are completely different. And while you can obviously get an objective idea of how the mic like should sound, it doesn't really relate to how it's going to sound with your specific voice.
Yeah, that's a good point. The low voice was a really good point, because like Epos Vox has that really low voice. Like he makes he reviewed like that Razer microphone. It's like a $75.
Yeah.
It sounded amazing, but it wasn't the mic that sounded amazing. He just has a fantastic voice. I don't like. I'm a YouTuber, but I'm never gonna have that voice. You can't change it. Unfortunately, you can't. You can't.
Well, you can always just like put it on. You can try to like put it on a new accent and see what happens.
What you can. Okay, so while we're ranting about mics, there's a podcast for a football team over here that I cheer for. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, and they do an after game podcast. And one of the hosts has a Blue Yeti. And I swear to God, nobody on the internet that isn't in audio knows how to use a Blue Yeti. They all have them pointed at their mouths like this. And like I don't think like the Blue Yeti is not a front address microphone. It's just not. It's a side address microphone.
It would be like if I recorded with the the Shure like this. Like this is not how you record. This probably sounds horrendous.
But you can't go into the chat of a podcast that has nothing to do with microphones. And tell them that they're using their microphone wrong. You sound like an arrogant douchebag.
Oh no! Now the mic's pointed the wrong direction. Okay, now we're good. Cool. Yeah, I know the feeling.
It's just you can't.
Okay, the problem with the Blue Yeti is when you open the box, it has a diagram of how the mic should be used.
Well,
like there's no excuses.
Like holding this up to the camera. Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti, yes.
I have all the I have all the microphones, all of them. The problem with the Blue Yeti is that it has all of these little icons on the knob.
Yes.
And nobody knows what those icons. I think no. Here's the thing. Yeah, those. I think that every single YouTuber, every single one of us, no matter what your topic, probably could go to if you're a YouTuber, go to your closet because you have one of these. Everyone does. Every single person has bought one of these things because you want to know what? They're cheap. Okay. You don't need an audio interface. You don't need nothing.
One argument I'll make for that is they were cheap back when they first came out. Nowadays, things like the pod mic are a much better deal.
Yeah, totally agree. But people still buy this because it has a reputation.
It does,
of being cheap.
Like the also, C920.
This thing doubles really good as an intruder detection because you could beat somebody over the head with this thing. It weighs 12 pounds. It's built like a tank, and you can. I mean, even the pod mic isn't built this well, and it doesn't come with a stand. So I mean, with this thing, pop onto your desk, plug in a micro USB, which is just like micro USB. What are we? It was it's 1990.
Mini B, not micro.
Mini. Yeah, I can never remember which is which. They have
micro is the one that actually was popular.
Either way, all right.
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
We don't want to get into that because I had a camera that had like a really weird stupid. Anyways, you plug that in, set it on your desk, and you're good to go. You're podcasting.
And you start bumping your desk, and you can hear every single tap.
Let's just hope you don't have blue switches in your keyboard because you're hearing all of those.
That's specific. Like I don't like mechanical keyboards in the first place, but like that's one of the nice things about having a scissor switch keyboard. They are very quiet. Like I can just sit here and type. You can't hear it. It's great.
Yeah, I am a big mechanical keyboard guy. I like collect them. So, but I try to go for the silent ones. So we probably could do a test here. You probably are going to hear it because it is. And this has reds in it, and they're not lubed or anything. It's just stock.
Yeah.
Because I haven't gone crazy into the custom mech keyboard because it's just too expensive. Like you can do crazy stuff. I mean, just all the stuff you can find on YouTube for keyboards and stuff. Like, here's what a $1,200 keyboard sounds like. Like, first of all, like, I like keyboards, but I'm not going to spend $1,200 on a keyboard. I'm just like, you can buy a computer for that. That's too expensive.
You might be struggling nowadays.
You used to be able to buy a computer for that. But the point still stands.
Yeah.
$1,200 for a keyboard is too much for a keyboard, but it sounds so good, man. It sounds so good. But mechanical keyboards are those kind of things where either you like them or you don't like them.
Yeah.
Like you're either that kind of guy or you're not that. And you're never going to cross between them. I mean, you'll use a mechanical keyboard because you have to if you're not that kind of guy, but you're going to be running back to the scissor switch or the membrane keyboard.
There's a few really low profile mechanical switches I do have a slight interest in, but like the reason why I like scissor switches is because I was on a laptop for so long. I didn't have a desktop probably for like 7 years or so. So that entire time I was just using a laptop, and I got very used to having very, very low profile switches.
I don't understand. Okay, so I don't understand the Apple keyboard people.
Wait, do you mean the new Apple keyboard or the older one?
Any of them?
Okay, now we can have an argument.
I know all the people who use like the Apple keyboard stuff that have never owned a Mac in their life. They just bought the keyboard because it's an Apple keyboard.
It's a great keyboard.
Is it though?
It is. It's a really great keyboard.
Why though? I don't understand.
If you like, it's probably awful if you don't like scissor switches, but it is one of the most well-constructed scissor switch keyboards out there.
So they never switched to like the butterfly switches on those. I take it.
No, people who like butterfly switches are just wrong. Anyone who likes those is just a moron. But the older scissor switch keyboards, like you'd have on like the 2012 iMacs or like the older Mac laptops, those were great. The new ones where it's like they have a millimeter of travel that break if you get like a hair in them. Those are awful. I don't know anyone likes those.
The first thing I do when I have a laptop is plug a keyboard into it because there's not a single laptop keyboard that I like, whether it's made by Apple or HP or whoever. I have a Dell back here. First thing I did to it is plug in a $149 mechanical keyboard into it. It has blue switches on it. I can't stand laptop keyboards. Now I can use them. Like they're fine. I can type fast on them. At least the older ones. For whatever reason, you buy a laptop keyboard nowadays, it has a numpad on the side of it. If you buy anything over like a 14-inch laptop, you're getting a numpad whether you like it or not. And I mean, unless you have a specific use case for a numpad, like using macros to change in OBS.
Yes, that is why I use them.
But you want to know what? I don't know. Again, I don't know if you probably can't see this because it has RGB on it, but $40 on Amazon. It has 23 keys on it. That's what I use for macros. I don't need an attached numpad for anything, and I never ever will.
Fair enough.
And the problem with them on keyboards or on laptops is you can't remove that shit. You're stuck with it forever and ever, and it moves everything to the left. To the left, and that means you're going to get used to that, but you have to get used to it. You know. Now, I suppose I could understand if you like the Swizzer, the Swizzer. We might just. I can't talk for today. If you can't like the scissors, if you like the scissors. This is me recording a video. I'll spend the next 10 minutes trying to. You know what I'm talking about. If you like those kind of keyboards, that's where I go. The Apple keyboard, just buying it by a separate. Do they even have any other like manufacturers of those? Like, does Logitech make a scissor switch keyboard? I don't even know.
The one I've got is from Cherry. This is a really nice keyboard.
Yeah, the travel there would drive me bonkers.
Yeah, the travel is very tiny. I would say it's probably in the range of. Maybe a bit under a centimeter.
All right. So this here...
Maybe like half a centimeter?
Well, we're comparing keyboards. This here is a IQ Unix Lime 80. And it's about $200. And it has hot swap switches. And it is atrocious. It does not like Linux at all. For whatever reason, this keyboard here, as good as it sounds and as good as it feels and as fast as I can type on it... It disconnects like every 3 days. So I have a crappy USB-C cable here that I plug in, and I'll use it on the USB-C cable for like 3 days, and then all of a sudden it will stop working, just randomly. Like I'm trying to switch to a different tag in DWM, and it won't go. Like half the keys will work, the super key will not work. I don't understand. So I unplug it. I change to the wireless version, the wireless mode. And it will work for 3 days, and then it stops working. So I plug back the USB-C thing. I mean, this has gone from hey, I really like mechanical keyboards to this mechanical keyboard sucks. But yeah, I don't understand my luck with technology, apparently. Because sometimes but the funny thing is, this $40 piece of trash from Amazon, which is literally, I mean, these keycaps are literally like paper thin. I mean, they're so bad. This thing works all the time. You can't break this thing. Like, I could chuck this thing across the wall, and the keycaps won't even come off. Like, I can't even get the keycaps off. This thing's built like a tank, and it keeps working. But this thing, $200, it's crap. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. With my last keyboard, I did have a slight problem with it where some of the keys just stopped registering after a while. Like, that's the problem you get. Okay, this is sort of the other problem. Like, with mechanical keyboards, a lot of them get really fancy and don't work properly under Linux. Scissor switches are generally fairly basic and will work on anything. They're also not, a lot of them aren't built very well, which is another problem. Where maybe a key will feel very different from another key. Like, this is one of the problems with getting a scissor switch keyboard. There's only a few out there that are actually good. The Cherry is a really, really... I forgot what the exact name was. Cherry Stream? Yeah, Cherry Stream. One of the few keyboards that's actually really good. But other ones, like the last one I had, the Cougar Vantar... It also had a weird... Okay, it also was a gaming keyboard where it had an extra key that if you press, I think, that key and then W, it would swap WASD and your arrow keys around. And the problem is that it was right next to my super key. So I would occasionally hit it and flip everything around and stuff would just stop working. I was very confused the first time it happened.
I have a Lenovo, like a really old Lenovo laptop, and it has usually the function key, at least on ANSI keyboards, is on the right-hand side. On that Lenovo, the function key is on the left-hand side, and it's right next to the super key. So I was pressing the function key all the time on that laptop, and that's the laptop I use when I go out in the world. Back when we could go out in the world. Remember those days?
That was a fun time.
Yeah. We're gonna be telling our kids, yeah, we used to be able to go outside to cafes and libraries. But anyways, so I don't plug a keyboard into that one, and it has a really stupid layout. It's just so dumb. Like, every keyboard has 3 buttons on the left-hand side.
Yep.
4 buttons on the right-hand side. Or, unless you're dealing with a non-standard layout, right?
Yeah.
For like this one here has 3 on both sides and then arrow keys because it's a 75% layout. But
right.
On a full-size keyboard, that's pretty much what you have. And for whatever reason, laptop manufacturers like to mess around with that layout a lot. Like, for no reason. It makes no sense to me. And all it does is... It's like they had to move it around because they got the little nubbin in there or whatever. But, I mean, everybody proclaims high, like... Lenovo makes the best laptop keyboards, and they have for 20 years. Like, I don't see it. Like, their layout is weird to me, and the weird like divots or whatever they have in their keycaps are weird. They just don't fit my fingers.
But the nipple.
I never understood that.
I don't either.
I can. I think it was. I think it's like a generational thing, like, because Lenovo and IBM like made laptops like popular. Like, that was before like Dell existed. It was before, it was back when Gateway still had stores. You were like 5 years old. It was at that time, and everybody, if you wanted a laptop that was 6 inches thick and you had a nipple on it, and maybe it's that generation. But the thing is even somebody who's was born in the 80s and got their first computer in the year 2000 when Gateway had stores. I didn't have a laptop. I didn't own a laptop until like 2007 or 2008. That was when I got my first laptop. Prior to that, I had a Gateway computer that came in 27 boxes. I shit you not. It was hilarious because it even came with a microphone, like one of those like pointer microphones that had like a bass.
Right.
And I had that was my computer for ages. It went from Windows 98 to Windows Me to Windows 2000 to I might switch those around. Then Windows XP, and then I don't think it ever saw. You know what? It did see Vista. It ran it like crap. That's the reason why I got rid of that computer. Because I thought it was the computer's problem. Turns out Vista was just terrible.
Oh no, Vista's great. If it just came out 5 years too early, it just needed too much RAM.
It needed more RAM because at that point you could only have 2 gigabytes of RAM because that was all Intel's platform would support was 2 gigabytes. Or maybe not support. They probably would have went up more, but you can actually buy more because I don't know.
I think 32-bit CPUs theoretically support up to 4 gigs, I believe. It might be 8, something like that. But whether you can get your hands on it is another question.
Well, then at that point, nobody upgraded their computers.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody upgrades their computer nowadays, but it was even more rare back then.
Yeah.
Mainly because it was dangerous to get in there because the power supplies and stuff like that weren't like the safety paradigms they were not now. I mean, you go into a computer like 20 years ago, you're risking your life. It's not great. Anyways, I didn't have a laptop until that point, and it was you remember the white Apple MacBooks? They were like $900.
Yeah, I do. I had one in high school.
Everyone had one. Because that was the laptop you bought.
Because Apple, Apple also did subsidies for schools as well. That's why they had a stranglehold over it.
You could go to the university store, and it wasn't $900. It was $700. Plus, you could put towards some of your financial aid or whatever towards it. And like that was the laptop everybody bought, and that was my first laptop that I ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I loved that thing. That was so good. It was my first experience. It was okay. So that's a lie. That was not my first experience with Mac OS. My first experience was in like elementary school with one of the first Macs. But
okay, yeah. We had I think we had XP systems when I was in primary school.
When we went to, by the time I made it to I went to start school in that weird transitionary whatever. Can't say words. Words are hard.
I know the feeling.
That transition period where they were transitioning from Macs to Windows computers. It was the Windows 95 era, where it was where Windows decided to become mainstream. Because before Windows 95, nobody used Windows. I mean, a lot of people used Windows, but I mean, it wasn't like mainstream, right? And it was just about the time schools in this area decided to get the internet.
Right.
And people got into Alta Vista, they got into Netscape, Navigator. Like, oh man, we were talking about browsers earlier. We should bring back. I mean, technically, we still use Netscape Navigator because that's just Firefox. That's where Firefox came from, was Netscape. So, yeah, God. I think the point of this conversation is that you were born in 1998. I was born in 1985. So we could talk about really old shit for a long time if we wanted to. The funny thing is, I did this podcast with you, and you were born in 98.
Yes.
Tyler, who I do my podcast with, he was born in 1997. So
okay.
So I'm like, at your age, you probably look at people who are in like their 35, 37, like, man, that's not so far away. But once you get here, you're like, God, I'm so old. Like, really, really old. Because, like, I remember the Game Boy, like, Advance. It wasn't the Advance. No, it was the Game Boy Color. I think it was the first Game Boy, because we were talking about Pokemon earlier. And it was the first Game Boy where there was connectivity. But it wasn't the type of connectivity anybody today would remember, because you actually had to buy a proprietary connector to connect these things. It was like a 30-pin. Yeah. And it was the first one. Like, I remember these things. Like, you bought them. At that point, the Game Boy had become so popular, you could buy a 2-pack. Like, you bought a 2-pack, you got one, like a yellow and a pink one, and it came with the cable, and then you could trade Pokemon that way. It was so slow, but at that point, it was so cool. I mean, because it was just in order to be. At that point, they had these things called, I believe Linksys made them. In order to transfer files between laptops, you had to have a software to do it, because Windows at that point wasn't prepared to actually transfer between laptops. So you had to have a specialized software, and then you had like you remember those old printer cables that were like I think they were IDE cables or something. Like you had 25 pins on the inside, and you had to plug them in, and that's how you transferred cables or transferred files if you wanted to do it from like peer to peer. Like could, networking began, obviously was around back then, but it wasn't universal or anything. If you just had two computers you wanted to transfer something between, you had to have a cable in order to do it. I mean, you have to have a cable nowadays too, but it's just a much smaller cable, I guess. I mean,
I didn't actually have a home computer until like fairly late, because both my parents like grew up on farms, so they just didn't have any interest in getting a computer. Now they're like, don't leave Facebook, but back then, we were living in like the middle of nowhere, Queensland. I think it wasn't until like 2006 or something that we actually got our like first home computer. We didn't even have an internet connection before that point. Not that you could get a good internet connection out there anyway.
Yeah, a lot of places here in the United States are the same. Even now, the same way. You can't get it's slowly changing where you can be in the middle of the
dial-up was still like a thing in a lot of places in the US.
Yeah, we didn't get our first like good connection until like 2007, 2008 or something like that, somewhere around there. It might have even been later than that. I don't even remember, but we had dial-up for the longest time. And the thing about dial-up is I don't know if this is the same in Australia, but we never paid for dial-up. We just, every time we needed to re-up, we just got an AOL CD and got the free trial every time. It just changed accounts. I mean, that was the days. Like, you never paid for internet because you just kept getting the new AOL CD.
Yeah, we didn't get we didn't get an internet connection until DSL started like rolling out to places.
Do they even? I mean, I don't think we never had DSL because we're way too far away. Like, DSL degrades over long distances, right? And so we've always had either we went right from dial-up to cable, and I mean, cable's just has always been phenomenally expensive, and it's just ridiculous even now. Just to you'd think that with the way, I mean, the internet has become like a necessity, right? But it's so freaking expensive. I don't know. It's just another thing for Matt to bitch about for any amount of time. Like, oh, I got a $150 internet bill because we don't pay for TV. Like, we have no TV service here. The TV we get, we stream.
Yeah.
And it's still $150 for the jankiest ass cable service ever.
So bad. What do we pay? I think we pay $60 a month for 50 down, 10 up with no data cap.
Yeah. So we pay that $150 because it's the only plan they offer in our area, and it's the only company we can get. So that's what we get. That's what we have to pay. Like, we have no choice unless we're gonna go to like satellite or something. Which is, I mean, it's raining outside. I guess we're not gonna have internet today.
Elon Musk's what is it?
Starlink.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea, right? Turns out slow as fuck. like it turns out we've had satellite internet. It's not good. Like, it's been around for a long time. But it had Elon's name on it, so you thought, well, maybe he's thought of something that would make it good. But then you see the reviews of it. Now, granted, it's still in beta, but I don't think that you're going to get past the latency issues. I don't think the latency issues are the problem. Early on in places that, get like fairly hot, the Starlink like boxes with overheating. They just, when it overheats, it just turns off. I think it's a good idea for places that just can't get, Comcast is never going out there. You know what I mean?
Nearest town's like an hour away or something like that.
Yeah, or places like the middle of Europe or the middle of Africa or middle of those places. Fantastic idea. It's way better than the idea Facebook had where they were sending up balloons.
Oh yeah, that was a thing that they did, didn't they?
Yeah, here's an idea to give everybody internet. Let's send up balloons. That's not a good idea. I mean, can we list the ways that that's an atrocious idea? I think Google did it too. I think Google saw that idea. It's like, oh, hey, well, that's a good idea. Like, no, that's not a good idea. Like, first of all,
2018 from the Wired, Facebook and Google race to connect the world is heating up, and it's about balloons.
I don't know how to tell anybody this, but balloons go where the wind goes. So if you have a swift breeze, I mean, it's like this. I mean, unless you have like a propeller system on there, and then what are you going to have, like one person per balloon that's steering that thing? It's just
AI.
I mean, I suppose
AI balloons, machine learning.
Yes, but that was before. I mean, it was before they were really into AI. So what were they doing back then? I don't know. Balloons. It's the future. That's so bad. Like somebody got paid for that idea.
Okay, this is what happens, right? Places like Facebook and Google have really, really intelligent people. They get paid a lot of money. The problem you have when you have really intelligent engineers is they will want to over-engineer every single problem that they come across. Instead of using something that we know already works, like satellites. How about we have balloons, right? You follow me. Balloons. No one's ever tried this before. It's such a great idea.
Well, balloons are closer than satellites.
That's true. You will get theoretically better internet.
Right? And we can catch them. So, like, we haven't come up with a good idea for space junk yet, but we can go out and catch a balloon if we have to. Like, hey, you want to know what? The router or the whatever in that balloon's gone bad. Let's go catch the damn thing and see if we can change it out. I mean, we don't have to send astronauts in order to do it. I mean,
it's true.
So, I mean, technically, I suppose, but it seems like then why not just run a cable? I mean, because you're going to be running that balloon's going to get internet from somewhere close by. So you've ran a cable at least to someplace in the country. So just carry on. You know what I mean? We know that works. But the thing about Google is they tried to be their own internet company for a while, right? Google Fiber.
Yeah. Is
everybody
that still a thing?
Yeah, everybody wants it. It's not still expanding. It's like in three or four cities.
Right.
Everybody wants it. Verizon did the same thing with like their Fios or whatever. Where it's like that was back when like gigabit internet was like the thing everybody wanted, but nobody could have.
Yeah.
It's much more widespread now, at least here in the United States and probably Japan, because Japan gets everything. But at that point, like there were towns changing their name. I'm pretty sure Topeka, Kansas actually changed their name to Google in order to get fiber, which, by the way, didn't work. It went to Kansas City. So can you imagine? You're at a town hall and you have the votes of the board. Like, okay, we're going to change our name to Google because we really, really want high-speed internet. You do it. You get the votes. You got both parties that we have here that can never agree on anything to agree to change the name. And then at the end of all of it, it goes down the road to the next city. We're never agreeing on anything again. We're never changing. We're going back to Topeka.
There is some discussion about upping it out. So Australia has this jank-ass fiber network. So initially what we were supposed to have is nationalized fiber. We were supposed to have fiber running to every single household. Then the government changed, and then they're like, no, that's too expensive. Now we're going to run fiber to like these node points and then use the existing copper to the houses. But then some places actually do have fiber to the houses. Some have like fiber and then cable. It's like this messy as hell setup. But slowly places that actually do have fiber to the house are actually like getting gigabit internet. It's just taking a while.
So I got an email from my internet provider like 3 weeks ago. and they said, "Congratulations, we've doubled your internet speeds." Well, first of all, I was like, "Cool." And then, the first thing I did, right? I went to speedtest.net. I tested that shit, and did I get double internet speeds? No, I did not. No, I'm still getting the same 100 megabits I was getting before, but the upload speed actually went down. So, download speeds are never they're never the problem. Like you get 50 or 70 or 100 or whatever you're at, which we should all be thankful that we get those speeds, because there are people that are still in dial-up, so we are thankful for that. But upload speeds suck for everybody. I mean,
yeah, it's so difficult to get a good upload. Like, unless you go like a business symmetrical connection, like you're not getting good uploads.
Yeah, and those things are like $600 a month.
Yeah.
Like nobody can afford that unless you actually have a business, right? So I get like 7 megabits a second up, and I pay $150 for this thing. You can do better than this. And the thing, like, you were talking about the nationalization of your stuff over there. Here in the United States, that's like taboo, right? Like, we're never nationalizing anything because reasons. Capitalism, yeah. So what we've done is the stupidest thing ever, and we have localized monopolies. So you only have one company. We have WOW. It's Wide Open West. It's like the smallest cable company in the United States. They cover a few million people. It's like eventually they're the company that will eventually get bought out by Comcast, because Comcast wants to own them.
Right. They want to own that section of land.
Right. But it's the only company we have, because they control the lines. And you can go about 6 miles that away, and it's another company. Right. But we can't, because it's 6 miles away. We can't have that company, even if they had better service. They don't, but we could. We can't have them because our town has agreed with WOW that they're the only ones that can serve this area.
Right.
And so we've had a few towns here in the United States, like in North Carolina and stuff, who have said, we want gigabit Ethernet here, or gigabit internet here in our town, right? And they've passed ordinances and laws and stuff like that in order to do it. And they've been taken to court by the company that owned that section of whatever, and those ordinances have been struck down because they can't have, because it's considered anti-competitive, because the government can't compete with companies for that, because then it would break some kind of commons law or something.
Right.
The moral of the story is that the internet in America is broken. It's not as bad as the power grid, which it turns out if you have ice in Texas, you're going to have power outages for 3 weeks, and you might as well, whatever. There are people from that hurricane that happened like 3 weeks ago. They still don't have their power back, because our power grid was built in the 1930s and hasn't been updated, even though they charge us through the nose for power. Like, here's an idea. Let's bury the cables. Like, we have the technology. They're called shovels.
Yeah, no, this is such a basic thing that Australia worked out a long ass time ago. Like, a lot of states here just bury the cables. It's very easy.
Because you want to know what happens when you bury the cables? The trees can't fall on the cables and bring the cables down. It's a novel situation, right? It's just, it doesn't make any sense. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be all at once. Like, we don't have to have some broad national thing. Just when the cable comes down from the tree, because it happens every 3 weeks, from the storm, bury that cable. Put it in the ground, okay? And then when the next section comes down, bury that part again. And obviously, it's not going to be that simple, but they've actually spent more money going through and cutting down trees to keep them from falling on the lines than they would have if they just buried the stupid cable. It's the dumbest thing. Like, God bless America and all that stuff. Like, it's whatever, but we're stupid people here. like we have some really dumb ideas in the name of capitalism. I don't want to get into that, but still, it's
look. Australia is not perfect by any means. My state doesn't have enough power generation for the state, so we rely on other states. So when there was a massive storm that knocked out the transfer between states. Like, a lot of places just lost power for 2 weeks. Like, there are problems, but hey, we'll have like a massive bushfire that knocks out like most of the East Coast, and still have power the entire time. So hey, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
The entire west coast of the United States is on fire, and they have no water.
Oh, lovely.
But they live next to an ocean. I don't know if they know this, but that ocean has a lot of water in it. I don't know if anybody knows this, but water puts out fires. So maybe we take some of that water, take the salt out of it, and water some plants. It makes sense. They have desalination. A lot of countries that are basically deserts, that's where they get most of their water, is from desalination. But for whatever reason, because we can't do anything and get it done here, it just doesn't happen. I mean, they have an ocean it's right there. Bill Maher, I don't know if you know who that guy is.
Bill Maher is.
Right. He was talking about this the other day, and he was talking about building pipelines from where it's flooding on the East Coast all the way to California. Like, you don't have to do that. You just got the ocean. It's right there. The pipeline would be 5 meters, like 5 feet. It's all it doesn't make any sense. And he was also talking about, like, they want to build shelters for homeless people. But in California, they had to scrap the project because the homeless shelters got to the point where each one was costing $750,000 to build for homeless people. Like, first of all, if we're going to spend that money, just give the homeless people $750,000. They can go out and buy their own house. Wouldn't that make a ton more sense? I mean, if we're just going to print money, let's just do that. We have gone. I think we went from Vivaldi to
I don't know how we got here.
I don't know how.
I genuinely don't know.
This is what happens when you get me on a podcast, because I tangent all over the place. Like, if you mapped it, it'd be all over the place. And
that's fine. That means I think, okay, I've looked at my topics. I think we've hit 3 things on here, which is fine. I like this. This is good. I like having a guest who can actually hold a conversation.
I'm surprised that we made it to 3 things.
That's because I forced them to happen.
Well, I'm surprised I allowed you to do that, because normally when I get going on something, I can rant for hours on it. I'm glad that we didn't get into snaps versus flatpaks or iOS versus Android or any of that stuff, because I just switched to iOS.
Oh, did you?
Again. Yeah, I did. So I do this every 2 or 3 years. And just to keep up on the things, because, I would love to go out and say, hey, I'm going to buy a Pine phone and use a Pine phone, but there's no application for a Pine phone, right? The Linux on mobile is like where Linux was 20 years ago. It's just, It's not there yet, right? Maybe someday it will get there, but it's not there yet. So I switch back and forth between Android every 3 years just so I can keep up what's what.
Sure.
iOS hasn't gone anywhere in the last 3 years. It's still just as bad in some places as it was when I used it 3 years ago. The notification system, horrible. There's no back button in iOS, not really. And when they do have a back button, it's like this really little weird small arrow at the top that you can't hit, or you hit accidentally when you don't want to hit it. And for whatever reason, the thing I remember. The last time I had made the switch, it used to be that the apps on iOS were really good and the apps on Android were fairly bad. And I expected to see apps on iOS to have that similar lead as they had 3 years ago, but I get on the iPhone and they're the same applications I had 3 years ago, only they all have in-app purchases now. And while that was kind of the same way 3 years ago,
when you were playing Clash of Clans,
yeah, the thing is, 3 years ago, you paid $10 for an application and in-app purchase, right? That was fine, whatever. Here's my $10. Now, because subscriptions have become the thing, every application doesn't just have an in-app purchase; it has an in-app subscription. So, I spent $30 yesterday on a Twitter client for iOS, simply because I refuse to spend $4 a year on the Twitter client because I'm going to forget about that $4 a year. And I'm going to be like 90 years old. I'm still going to be paying for Twitterrific that hasn't been developed in 10 years or whatever. It's the dumbest thing. And first of all, don't do as I do. Don't to the listeners out there. Don't spend $30 on a Twitter client. It's the dumbest thing you can do with your money.
I don't think you need to tell anyone else not to do that.
Right? But the thing is, you can't actually get a Twitter client on iOS unless it's the standard Twitter client, which is garbage. For any small amount of money. Like, they're all expensive. Like, the tweet. So there was one that came out when I was using iOS ages ago, years and years ago. It's called Tweetbot. Beautiful design, has all the features you want. It used to be great, right? They had a free version, they had a paid version. I usually send them money because I like to support developers. They still have it. It still exists. They're like on the 6th version now. The thing is, they have a free version, but you can't tweet from it.
Oh, so
right?
It's just like a viewer thing.
Like, all you can do is see Twitter. You can't tweet from it. You can't retweet. You can't reply. You can't do anything with DMs. They don't have like a lifetime thing. Otherwise, I would have given them $30 for forever. No, instead they charge you $10 a month for a Twitter client. Like, I'll pay $10 a month for Netflix because I actually get something for Netflix. I'm not paying $10 a month. Like, I'll pay. It's just so stupid. Subscriptions are the stupidest. I would debate with you which is more stupid, subscriptions or NFTs, because they're both. But at least with subscriptions, you get something, kinda.
I think it depends on what we're subscribing to. Like if it's something like a Twitter client, I don't just
no right.
Just stop using Twitter on your phone. Just go use TweetDeck on your computer.
But I do that too, but I need them both places. It's stupid. It's a mental thing.
But like. I can't think of a way that you could argue that, like, a Netflix subscription or like a WoW subscription or anything like that is worse than an NFT. We can actually maybe the WoW subscription, but worse than an NFT.
So is WoW even? I mean, are they still doing new versions of WoW?
Yeah, WoW's
like,
WoW's still getting developed while Blizzard is crumbling as everyone's going and playing Final Fantasy 14.
That's just so sad because I like Hearthstone so much. But that's the only Blizzard game that I actually ever got into is Hearthstone. I played WoW, like the first version of WoW. Like, that was the last version of WoW I ever played. Because WoW was like one of those first games where, because it was an online game, and like the chat rooms and stuff that surround WoW are just so. I mean, there's that 12-year-old boy in those chat rooms, and they're all calling my mother terrible names. I mean, and it's probably not true because remember, not a big gamer, but WoW felt like the first place where that kind of stuff happened. It probably wasn't because it was probably like Call of Duty or something like that. Because the Call of Duty like voice chats are just as, I mean, they're horrible, right? But for me, that was my first really experience with that kind of behavior. Like, first of all, you don't know my mother. Stop talking like that. Second of all, your mother would be very, very disappointed in you, young man. Like, this is where the age thing gets in because you got to lecture those little guys because they're all like probably like they're not even 12 years old. That's probably giving them way too much credit. They're probably like 7 or 8 years old, and they have the dirtiest mouths you've ever heard, and they all think they're like the biggest Twitch streamers they've ever heard. I mean, they probably don't even know how to sign up for Twitch, but they think they're the shit. I don't even know if anybody says that anymore, but it's just so bad. And so that's another reason why I don't do online gaming, because seems like that's all you come across anymore. So, yeah.
Well,
we meandered into yet another topic.
Well, that's as good a time as anything to end off the podcast. Otherwise, you're going to keep going for like another hour.
Oh, I could.
We've already been going for 2 hours and 14 minutes. So, let's see. The way I usually end off, I don't know if you ever watched the podcast to the end. The way I usually end it off is let people know a channel that you think they should check out. Give them someone fun to go watch.
Oh, okay. So here's when you got to check out. If you like scripting, because I told you I avoid scripting on my channel because it's too niche.
Mm.
But Terminal for Life has a fantastic
Terminal for Life is a great channel.
Yeah, he does a lot of scripting stuff. That's pretty much his niche. And well, he doesn't get a lot of views on his videos. He has a lot of subscribers, about the same amount as I do. All of his videos are just fantastic, and you're gonna learn if you like scripting, you go there. So that would be my recommendation. Terminal for Life. Also, I know you didn't ask for two. Just
You can say as many as you want.
Zany is my podcast host, co-host, and you should check out his channel too. He's this close to 1,000 subscribers. This close. He's like at 700 or something like that, somewhere around there. He's gonna get to 1,000 subscribers, and we're gonna throw him like a virtual party. It's gonna be fantastic. He's gonna stream for like 24 hours because and he's gonna install Gentoo. I just made that part up just to, you know.
Right, now I hope he installs Gentoo.
That'd be hilarious. Anyways, yeah, he doesn't actually have like a URL that you can, because apparently you have to be like at a certain level in order to get the vanity URL. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I don't know where it's at now.
But hey, you want to F5? They just changed it so if you can get 5.
Community post 500. Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. It really pissed me off because I worked so hard for that first 1,000. Like I had to wait so long for this to make my first community post, and now everybody's at 500 is getting it. That's unfair.
I think at this point my podcast channel will have enough subs. My gaming channel won't, which is sad.
Well, we need to change that. We'll post that on everybody's community page. We'll get you there.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen.
Well, right now my plan is post YouTube Shorts on my gaming channel, and that seems to be working. Post gaming clips to YouTube Shorts.
We have to do what everybody else has to do and get DT to shout it out.
Yeah, or that. I'm gonna say, because we talked about mics before, there's so many channels I can talk about. I guess we can say Podcastage. Yeah. Or Podcastage? Podcastage? I don't know how you actually say his name.
Yeah.
Either way.
He has a great podcast too. Bandrew says very good.
But yeah, if you want to see mic reviews, probably one of the best at doing mic reviews. He will show it in different use cases, not just with voice. He'll show it with instruments. He'll show it against other microphones in the similar price ranges. Great channel, highly recommend it. He goes into way too much detail in some cases, but if you're looking for a mic review, that's probably the best place to go. His
second channel, The Deuce, is hilarious too because he makes way too many poop jokes. Saying that.
So, where can people find you?
Let's see, youtube.com/LinuxCast. I'm at the LinuxCast on Twitter, and I'm on Discord in various places. You'll see me in Brody's Discord server, and I'm in Zany's Discord server. I have a Discord server for the LinuxCast, but it's not public, and I don't know if I want it to be public because that sounds like way too much work.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are probably the easiest places to find me.
Okay, cool. Yeah. If you have nothing else to say, I guess I'll do my outro.
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, cool. If you want to see the audio release of this is available as a anywhere that has podcasts. I don't know how to do this outro. I've done 80 episodes. I still don't know how to do an outro. You can find the audio release anywhere. Video release is on YouTube and Odyssey if you're watching the audio version. Main channel, Brody Robertson, do Linux videos. Gaming channel, Brody Robertson plays. Live stream twice a week, upload about 5 or 6 YouTube shorts, and then that's everything. Yeah, that is everything. Jeez, I can't do an outro. This changes every single time. Maybe I should actually plan something. That might help.
You could write it down.
I could. I should do that. But am I going to?
Nah.
No.
I don't write anything down either. Too much work.
I'll let you do the outro. What do you want to say?
Thanks for watching. I don't know. Like, you can't just drop this. No,
I do this on everyone. I force them to do the outro.
If you listened all the way to the end of the podcast, awesome. I mean, seriously, I hope somebody goes through and does like the timestamps for this thing because every single topic we cover will have like that'd be hilarious. Anyways, yeah, thank you for watching. I guess I don't know.
Yeah,
thanks for dropping that on me, Brody. I really appreciate that.
No worries. I do it to everyone. You're not special in this way.
You're such a cruel person. I don't even know why I talk to you anymore.
See you guys later.
See ya.